Good morning. Oh my goodness. Honestly, I have tried to film this video so many times, and this is one of the things that keeps happening. So, oh, thanks, Wilf. Thanks, Wilf. Yeah, so what was I saying? And then my battery kept messing about and various things. So, anyway, I'll try again. I've been up and just been listening to the Dawn chorus, which was just a happy accident really, but it reminded me so much that all these beautiful things in nature that just continue to go on, and if we stop for a moment and remember, it's like they provide these little anchors of, don't worry, all these things are still the same, everything's okay. I've been thinking so much, and I'm sure a lot of you have, about world peace and our quest for it, and how down we might be feeling about how history just seems to repeat itself, and we never collectively as humanity seem to particularly learn, and that so much of our world is driven and led by the people who are hungry for some kind of power that isn't for the greater good, and it is focused on themselves as individuals rather than wanting to lead a group of people to better ways and better times. And this idea of world peace, I don't feel as though it would be possible to move into a state of more harmonious living as just a block, as all of the individuals part of this massive block of people just randomly moving into this new way of being. You can't do that unless all the individual parts are working within themselves to elicit that vibration of, this is the way that I want things to be, this is the way that I want to feel, these are the properties and the values and the principles that I want to live by, that I want to feel streaming through my body, which leads me to feel that even though there's lots and lots of things that we can do to support people who are going through war in their country, none of us as individuals can go and stop a war. But what we can do is remember that our individual acts, whether it's an act of healing, of love, of changing the way that we do something so that it works better, that progression towards the lighter way of being, it must mean that if we're doing that, it will affect something and someone else. And if everybody's doing it in their own way, or more people are doing it, it continues this ripple effect. And there are the people who've been doing that all along, and there are people who are just starting to do that kind of work with themselves. And then there are the people who are very much in their darkness, and they want to lead in that vein or follow in that vein. And they almost need to see how much things crumble, how much things fall apart when we follow that kind of code. So it's really important that we don't lose sight of the value of those tiny little things that we're doing in our own lives, for ourselves and for the people around us, our loved ones, as well as complete strangers. The tiniest little acts, even just stopping the traffic so somebody else can pull out of a junction. You know, these tiny things, they raise the vibration, because everything that we do within our bodies are this vessel, and they work with the mind in order to generate a chemical reaction to a thought that we're having, or a reaction that we're having to something that we're seeing or thinking about. And our thoughts trigger the chemistry in the body that ultimately give us a sensation that we call an emotion. And those emotions, they carry a frequency, they carry a vibrational frequency that we feel in the body that is noticeable in some way to those around us. We can see if someone is in distress, we can see if somebody is in joy. And this doesn't mean that we're supposed to go around just aiming for that joy. It's about us continuing to do our work. And I don't want to get too heavy. I'm so good at just getting too intensive with things and forgetting sometimes to just, stick a movie on or, put a great track on and then have a dance around. It's important that we do that light stuff as well. And it's important that we don't try to be toxically positive and just make everything, twisted into, oh, it's fine because, and, oh, just we can't think negative thoughts. It's not that. It's about that authenticity of feeling safe to witness ourselves, to be with ourselves, to work with ourselves. And this feeling of the light, this frequency that has, I think, a flow to it when something is expansive, because it's almost like this is the source energy that moves through the body, that wants to find all the little nooks and crannies and move into them, so that we get to feel a deeper sense of that intensity of an appreciation or a gratitude or a bliss or a joy or the love. And in order for us to be allowing that, of course, we're letting that light go to the places where there are shadows, and shadows where we have those wounds that we get to work on, that we get to understand, that we get to heal. And that as the light moves through those shadows, we start to express ourselves in different ways. We start to change course. And my sense is that what's happening in the world is that all those people who are sensitives, the empaths, the gentle people, and the people who are more likely to follow a path that looks like love than hate, those ones who are always on the lookout for the little breadcrumb trail that leads them back to something that expands a peace inside them. And as I say, that's not toxic positivity, because healing isn't comfortable. Healing is very painful. You have to be very brave, I think, to live in this way, because you're going to feel the feelings, and sometimes those feelings are very uncomfortable, but they do point us in the right direction of something we might need to address or acknowledge, work on. And what's happening is those people who are sensitive, who have often been the carriers, the support, the in the background sponges, soaking up things, being an emotional filter for so many people, trying to soften the edges for everybody, they're changing. And it always used to be that the powerful people were always the ones that were hungry for greed, for that sense of being in charge, that sense of just wanting to feel it for themselves, rather than being fueled by a bright passion to deliver for a group of people, a collective. And I think there are people in politics who do have that. And there's an awful lot of leadership in this world that is very, very dark. And I feel like there's a rising at the moment of, I'm seeing so many sensitive, empathic types of people being fueled by this new energy that's come in, that is lighting a fire underneath us, which would make sense for the fire horse. This is the year of the fire horse in the Chinese New Year, and that energy is very much about the momentum and this sort of real definite declaration. Off we go. This is who you are. Go for it. You've spent the last however many years figuring this stuff out in theory. Just crack on and do it now. And there's a quiet rage that's peaceful. It's calm. But there's something about these people who normally are in the background, or burning themselves out busily. I certainly put myself in this category, and realizing I'm not doing that anymore. And I've got to stop that pattern where I keep being the blotting paper and mopping things up and then having to crawl off somewhere and dry off for a few days whilst nobody much around notices. It's a huge shift. These people are quietly withdrawing from situations, jobs, relationships where they've always given and given and given and given, or they've tried to explain and explain and explain to try to help that person to grow, to shift, to change. They have got to this point where they are done pouring out in places where they're not making the difference that they want to make, whilst essentially setting themselves on fire to keep other people warm. There's a point at which there's a threshold for people like this, and something closes a door inside them to say, I'm not doing things in that way anymore. I'm going to take my energy and I'm going to put it over here. And a healed, empathic person is an incredibly powerful person, able to read a room, able to understand what's going on with the people around them, an interaction, but no desire to weaponize it, no desire to hurt with it, only a desire to be efficient in using their knowledge and their understanding and their amazing abilities to point things in the right direction, but also not to over give, not to pour out into places where it's not going to be helpful. And the rising of the sensitive collective, which if you're watching this, you'll be part of it, is phenomenal. And I think that worldly, that's what's going on. And as all of these people are doing work on themselves and are strengthening themselves, and the light is pouring in more places than it ever has before within them, we are going to see a huge turnaround. And those people who have been in power for so long, for generations, who carry that darkness, they won't have the power that they have or have had without those sensitive people essentially serving them. When those people rise above that and they're not quashed anymore and they're not being used anymore and they're not lying down anymore, wow, that's what I feel is going to be coming in. I think it's coming in. I think it's happening. And I'm seeing it everywhere. I'm seeing so many people I know who are normally seen as quite soft and gentle and loving, and they're all of those things still, but there's a new fire, power and strength pouring through them. And there are certain boundaries that they're putting in place that they've tried to put in place before. But suddenly something's shifted and something's working and something's happening, and they're not trying to put those boundaries in and then go around explaining to everybody. They're just quietly doing it and stepping back and putting their energy through in other ways, and it's pretty spectacular. So this is what I think is going on with the world at the moment, and it reminds me so much of closing Catching Rainbows, my fertility business, which I adored and loved, and I knew at the same time that if I didn't close it, I would never learn how to shift out of a pattern that I've been trying to get myself out of for such a long time. And Catching Rainbows was the perfect vehicle to carry me in disguise so that I could do all this great work and I could be praised for it and it would be beautiful and all the rest of it. But it was fueled by a wound, a shadow in me that meant I would continue to have this ability, because I had this drive, not just the drive to want to help those people to conceive, not just the drive to bring those babies in, which was real and genuine and precious, but I also had the drive to over deliver and to people please and to be all things to all people. And Catching Rainbows was the perfect vehicle for me for that. And what it gave me the ability to do because my mind was so driven by those shadows, it would override my ability to connect to myself and my body, and I would mute my body essentially, and I would override it without realizing, and I would push, and then collapse in a heap. And then I would still have such a strong drive to keep ensuring everybody else was okay that I would even be able to override the collapse. And I knew, if I can't learn how to turn this around while I'm in it, I have to get out of it in order to do it. And yeah, I think everybody is doing their own version of that kind of inner work, that understanding. I'm having that warning sign. I can't keep going on like this. So I would say to everybody, even these are really unsettled times, and we have to stick together. And we also, as a collective, we need to be doing our own little bits of work in the meantime. So continuing to take care of yourself, continuing to look after the people around you, continuing to find those little pockets of moments of peace, joy, connection, gratitude, whilst also allowing the more challenging emotions to be your guides as to any other work that it's time for you to be, I want to say, graduating from, because I know that you've been doing this work for such a long time. And sometimes we get to a point where we've done it enough with doing the work, get on with the action that propels you into the next place. And for me, there's a particular flavour of feeling that comes with knowing that this is the right action to take in the direction that I want to go. And it's the right amount uncomfortable, almost excruciatingly uncomfortable, that means I know that's the way that I must go. It's different to that I know that this is the wrong thing, or I know that this decision is not going to benefit me, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm being driven by that compulsion to do it in a certain way. There's a real difference. So if you're there, if you're finding that there are little things that you're working on that you've been hoping to break through into for a long time, this is the time to be just cracking on with it. And if there are decisions that you have wanted to make about yourself, your well-being, your health, your body, your home, whatever it might be, and you've been sitting with it, this is the time to just get on with it. And this is your sign. So it will feel uncomfortable. It will feel like you can't. And actually you can. Actually there is a way, and you will find it. That momentum is behind you, carrying you through. And these acts that we do to strengthen ourselves, to anchor ourselves, to more enjoy and fill this experience of being human, the more that is a presence, and that presence creates a vibration. The vibration affects those people around us, and it grows. It's contagious in the best possible way. So let's grow into ourselves and know that it matters and that it makes a difference. So I'm going to sign off now. Lots of love. This has been the Sunday Soother from Soul Compass. I'm Lucy, and I work with my lovely friend Rachel on this channel just to, whenever we can, we both work in our own individual businesses and we do our workshops together. And whenever we can, we come on and do a video, whether it's just a chat like this or a meditation or sound bowls, just to offer a little place for you to come and be. And we hope that it will grow in whichever way is most right for everybody, but we're just trying a few things out. So if you like this, please like the video, please subscribe to us. It's completely free and it helps us out. And do leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Lots of love.